try to show a quick method of making a valve for a blowpipe. This isn't exactly the method I use, but it's close. It just doesn't have the tab. First of all, you need a piece of leather. And this one's a little more rough than I like, but I'm in the process of moving and don't really have access to all my stuff at the moment. So it's going to have to do. I also don't have a blowpipe currently, so I'm going to use this prototype regulator. Just gonna put it on the end here. It's got a little more area than most blowpipes, but it's not going to really matter. As long as you keep the leather within the boundary of your blowpipe so it doesn't bind up when you insert it into the blow stock, you'll be alright. So I just take the leather, and I have to do it off camera a little bit because I'm using a phone and a really bad tripod. See if I can angle it just slightly. So if you just mark the OD of the blowpipe, it's obviously going to be a little too big, but you can just cut a little bit inside your mark. Should be alright. It does help to have leather scissors for cutting leather, but a knife or anything that sharp enough will get the job done. So I can tell that I'm a little too large on this area. And if you get leather stamp or die cutters for leather that do circles, this is way easier. But I'm just about within the boundary. But scissors will do the job. So I'm pretty much within the boundary. I'm not going to have anything to test this against, but as you can see, as long as you're within the boundary of the wood and the blowpipe wasn't made for the as long as there's a gap between the blowpipe wood and the blow stock wood, you should be fine, and it should be made that way anyway. If it's wood on wood, then maybe talk to your maker. Anyway, so if you have a tab, you can cut the tab into the leather, and you can fold that over into whatever tab section there may be in your wood, and fold the tab into the wood, and then wrap your hemp around that to bind it. But the second method I use in conjunction with that is the glue method, which I learned a couple of years ago from a pretty well-known maker. Anyway, we want to add CA glue or super glue about 1/4 or 1/3 of the radius, or the perimeter here. And really, you don't need much. And I do understand that if you have to undo this, you'd end up having to sand it off a little. But if you only have to add a valve once every 5 to 10 years, it'll survive. So I'm gonna just line that up and hold it on there. The reason I don't just glue one little point and I do 1/3 to 1/4 to 1/3 of the perimeter is because that'll help hold it down in the direction it needs to go. You don't need a weight. You don't need to add any nuts or bolts to it. You don't need to add a metal spring. It just will hold itself down. And as you can see, I'm going to go too far on purpose just to show you here. If you do go too far, you can fix it. I get my glue to come out. So I'm going to go about halfway. Just going to glue that down. So now I've went too far and the valve can't open properly. So you can just peel it back a little until you get enough. And it's going to be a little difficult because I'm using a regulator instead of a blowpipe. You can adjust how much pressure it takes, and you don't want it to take too much pressure. It should be really easy flowing. You open up to the point where it can easily blow air through. All right, now it's real easy, and you can see the valve doesn't want to fall open. It wants to stay closed. You have to push air with your bellows to force air out of this. And with any amount of pressure inside the bag, this is going to stay closed. And, well, I've never had to replace one after I do this because I haven't been doing it that long. I've had mine for about 5 years, so I haven't had to replace it yet. And that's pretty much it. I wish I had better access to my tools right now, but I'm in the process of moving, so sorry about the crappy quality video here.